Hello YouTube, welcome back to another video. If you're new here, my name is Kasturi. I usually make book related videos, but lately I've been doing this podcast series. The first episode is out. You can actually go and watch it. I'll link everything down below and you can find all the videos on my channel. This video is actually for all the horror fans because I've been meaning to do this video for a very long time now. I'm finally sitting down today to talk about my unpopular horror opinions in terms of books and movies. I recently watched a movie and I am convinced that I really fall in the minority. And I was like, I have to share it with you guys. So go grab your popcorn, a drink, and let's get into this video. Just a quick disclaimer, this is my personal opinion. If I talk about any book or any movie that you enjoyed, I am really happy for you and all the respect. This is just my opinion. We're just gonna have a fun chat about what did not work for me, or I have my unpopular opinions. So let's keep this comment civil and let's dive in. So the first one is probably not that unpopular, but still unpopular if you really think about it. I'm going to talk about the divide between Hereditary and Midsommar. And I personally enjoyed Midsommar way more than Hereditary. Now, before you click out of this video and you're like, I don't even know what she's talking about, hear me out. Although Hereditary is shocking and is very disturbing, and so is Midsommar, it's just Midsommar has a very creepy atmosphere from the very beginning. And I feel this is where the grief metaphor has been just done so wonderfully. And I truly believe that if you can just take something so mundane and then show it or portray it in form of horror, I think it is the highest level of scare that you're going to get out of it. And for me, Midsommar will always be a movie about a relationship ending, just and all the horrors that was sort of personified. I really enjoyed it. I thought the imagery was stunning. And although it was like a slow burn, I think the ending and everything that happened in the movie just felt very earned. My main issue with Hereditary was a bit of a pacing. I just felt like things happened a lot at the end. But with Midsommar, it was like a slow car wreck that you did not even realize until you were right in the middle of the wreckage. So if you have survived the first one and you haven't clicked out of this video, the second one I feel is what is going to probably push you to click out of this video. But please don't leave. Let's talk about it. So remember in my intro, I said that I watched this movie and that is what made me want to do this video. Like it just pushed me to do this video. And that movie is Bring Her Back. I'm actually a little worried even talking about it because I know how much everyone loved the movie. And you won't believe, but when I put up a story saying that, okay, I am watching Bring Her Back today in theater, I got so many of my friends replying to it, so many of the people replying to it saying that, this is a great movie. Like it was so good, loved it. And once the movie was over, I just sat in the theater thinking that, did I watch a different movie than everyone else? Now, I'm not saying this movie is bad by no means. I thought it was very shocking, very wild, but I just did not get a lot of things plot wise in the movie. Now, for me, horror is sort of like two kinds, right? If you have like the plot that is driving the horror, or you have the characters that's driving the horror. And for me, I did not feel connected to any of the characters. The only character that I felt connected to was the brother. But other than that, I didn't feel connection to anyone. Like the foster mother, I was not connected to her at all. Like her motivation of doing something, I need to feel that for me to actually feel the grief of the movie, and I did not feel it. So I couldn't connect with the characters, and I felt that the plot just started out of nowhere and ended out of nowhere. Like it was sort of like not the whole picture, just a part of an entire picture. I am not trying to give you guys any spoiler in case you haven't watched it, so I just don't want to even like say anything. I don't want to give you any summary of what the movie is about. I'm sure most of you have already watched it, but it's just that I couldn't connect to the characters. And this is not just Bring Her Back. This is same with Talk to Me. I remember when the movie came out, I think it came out like 2 years ago. Everybody went crazy. Everybody said it's the best horror movie of the year. And I was so looking forward to watching it. And then I watched it and neither was I scared. And the same thing happened. I couldn't connect to the characters. I couldn't get into the story. And I just sat there wondering, I'm sure I watched a different movie than everyone else. So I'm not saying Bring Her Back is bad. If you love the movie, I'm really happy. I'm glad you enjoyed it. And it is shocking. It is gore, but gore is not equals to horror, and I'm sure most of you will agree with that. I just feel like there should have been a little more. There should have been the motivation that was explained slightly, and for those of you who watched, you know that it doesn't give away much. You don't get an explanation of why. You don't get any of the information. It's left to the viewers, which is fine because I feel like not everything needs to be explained, but you need some things to be told to you for you to actually understand what motivated someone to do something and what was that initiation point or what was the catalyst. So yeah, I just did not enjoy it as much as the others, but if the directors come out with another movie, I would go and definitely watch it. And I'm hoping that I really want to enjoy the movies. I'm not a person who likes to not like things or rant about movies and books. I want to enjoy them. So I just hope that the next movie that comes out, I really hope I enjoy it. Let's talk about one of the biggest thing in just horror genre itself, whether books or movies, possession horror. There is a huge, I guess, like a community or like a fan following of possession horror movies and books. I am a person who does not generally enjoy possession horror movies, but my main issue with it, and probably my unpopular opinion, not sure, I don't know if most of you will agree or not. Let me know in the comments. But I think every possession movies that are coming out is all of it is the same formula of The Exorcist. It's the same Catholic priest, it's the same teenage girl screaming, and there is some unknown demon that they're trying to like, I don't know, scare away. I just wish it was done a little differently. There would be some personality to this, I don't know, demon possessing this teen girl or whatever, like something that is unique that we haven't seen before. We have such creative minds in this world, and I'm sure that, we can come up with something great and not the same thing again and again. For me, again, horror is sort of psychological, subtle shifts, subtle movements that you notice, and you are like, did you see that? Like that kind of thing for me is what's horror. It's like you are sort of engulfed in fear, but you don't realize it until it's too late. So it's more like leaning on the psychological, and I don't think that movies, at least the recent movies that are coming out in terms of possession horror, is doing that effectively. This is probably like the most unpopular of the opinions of all the opinions that I have about possession horror, is that I think possession horror is definitely done better in books than in movies. And yes, when you think about like any story that is done in books is a lot more fleshed out, because you have this like 300 or 400 pages of a book, and you're going through this journey with the character and everything, so it kind of makes sense. But I just feel like in books I have actually seen a lot of unique take on the possession horror. I'll give you examples of like two books. One is Goddess of Filth by V.E. Castro, and that is a very, very unique possession horror. I don't want to give anything away. It's a very short book. If you haven't read it, you should go read it. And the second one is Come Closer by Sarah Grant, where you're actually reading from the perspective of the person being possessed, which I thought was very, very interesting. We also have Paul Tremblay's A Head Full of Ghosts, and in that it's so psychological that you don't even know if the person is being possessed, or if she has some mental health issue. Like, you have no idea, and I think that's the beauty of it that we are missing in movies. Another thing that horror movies love to do, at least in the recent times, and I think we as viewers as well as movie critics are loving it, is the grief metaphor in horror. I don't think everything needs to be a metaphor for grief in horror movies. And I'm looking at you, Bring Her Back. I feel like any movie that I watch at this point, and like the deep or like the layer of the movie, is that it was all a metaphor for grief. It's the same thing with Bring Her Back. It is the same thing with The Lodge. The same thing with like so many movies. And some movies are definitely done really well. For example, I still think The Babadook is one of the greatest horror movies I've watched. That is probably the most unpopular opinion that I could say, but I really enjoyed that movie. I thought it was really scary, but it was also like, the underlying tone is grief, but it balanced the grief and the horror really, really well. And I think a lot of movies just focus so much on the grief that they lose the plot when it comes to like the horror. I think another movie that balances horror and grief really well is The Orphanage, which is a Spanish film. I think it was really, really good. And that was also very scary, but also like really well done. And since this is like bookish channel, I do want to mention few books where I think grief horror has been done really well, in case you want to read. I feel like this video is slowly turning from me talking about my unpopular opinions to me giving you guys like recommendations on books and movies you can watch. But the two books on grief, that is like horror or grief horror. One is This Thing Between Us by Gus Monero. That is really interesting as well. And Crossroads by Laurel Hightower. I think that balances the horror and the grief really well. So you're not just reading about grief, you're getting the equal parts of scare that you need. Okay, so this is probably not a very unpopular opinion, but I just do not like jump scare in movies. I don't like it. I just don't. I just don't think it's effective. You can actually predict when the jump scare is going to happen. It's only a jump scare if you cannot predict it. But the moment you see, now it's very predictable in the movies, because it's the shot, it's a close up scene, and then you have everything just so quiet and silent around, and a jump scare is coming. You can just predict it. So it's not just fun anymore. And if a movie has like constant jump scares, that is just going to put me off completely. Because where is your plot? Where is your story? Where is your characters building? It doesn't have to be jump scare for me to get scared. Okay, so the next unpopular opinion is not something where I'm like ranting, but this is where I'm actually gushing about something, and that is horror comedy. I think it's extremely underrated. I think it doesn't get the credit that it deserves. I think it's actually very hard to pull off a horror comedy than your mainstream horror movies, because with horror comedy, you need to have the comedy element as well as the horror element in equal parts, and I think that's a little difficult to do. Also, if you watch a lot of horror comedy movies, you realize that they are actually very original. Like, I can give examples. So Satanic Panic I thought was really fun. There is something called as Dead Talent Society, which is available on Netflix, and it's literally like this kind of competition among the ghosts, which I thought was very interesting because we hardly see that. The Final Girls, which also stars Nina Dobrev, it's really fun. You can watch all of that. And in terms of books, also there are so many books that are sort of classified as horror comedy. I think any book that you pick up by Grady Hendrix is great. For example, Satan Loves You, which I thought was so funny. Then you have Sign Here. I'm forgetting the author's name. And just any book by Grady Hendrix. There's just so much to read, so much to watch in horror comedy. And I recommend all of you to go and do that right now. So the next one can be a little controversial, and I feel like it is going to upset some of you. But please remember, this is just my opinion. This is just something that I didn't enjoy, but I'm very happy if you did. Because I genuinely believe that you don't have to love Stephen King to actually enjoy horror books. I have a lot of respect for the man because he did kind of shape the genre. And he did come out with a lot of unique stories, but they're just not for me. They just do not work for me. I think he just doesn't do tension very well. Some of the books, yes, but it's just that it builds to something that doesn't have a great payoff. So I don't really enjoy his books. But some of the books that I have genuinely enjoyed is The Long Walk. And I've also really enjoyed one of his short stories called Grandma, which I thought was really creepy. So if you have not read that, and I don't know anyone who has read that, please go read it. I have also watched a lot of his movie adaptations, and to be very frank, I was not impressed either with that. But there are a lot of other writers that you need to explore because Stephen King will always be there. He will keep coming out with great books, and I only hope for all of his fans that he does continue to come up with a lot of great books. But there are very interesting horror writers who write very fresh and unique concepts. There's a lot of indie horror books, and I feel like we should make a video on like indie horror books because I really personally want to support all the indie authors out there. And one of them is S.A. Harrion, who is this author of this cosmic science fiction horror. It's called Briar Dark. It's a trilogy, probably more books, but it is very interesting. You can also pick up any books by Judith Sonnet if you are into extreme horror books. You can just check out Eric LaRocca's books, which is again very interesting, very fresh, and very unique. I don't know if this one's honestly an unpopular opinion or not, but I do not enjoy monster horror. Just creature feature is not my thing. I feel the moment the creature is revealed, you just lose the terror, you just lose the scare. Like, I'm not scared anymore. I've seen, this grotesque monster, and I'm just not scared anymore. And that's why I think the book Bird Box is so effective, because at least from the beginning when you're reading, you're not sure what's happening, right? It's about this woman who is trying to cross this river. There's something there out there in the world, in the sky, something. We don't know what it is. We don't know if it's a creature, how it looks like. If the moment you see it, you go crazy. So when you're reading from the perspective of this person trying to cross this river blindfolded, all you're getting is just different senses. You never come to know if there's a creature or how it looks. So you're actually scared because you just don't know what it is. And I think it's probably the same thing in the movie, like A Quiet Place. To me, it's like until we're seeing the creatures or whatever, you're scared because you don't know what they're gonna do, how they're gonna look like. Even if it's something creature, if it's what it is. I just like that uncertainty of not knowing what it is. Maybe like at the end, I know a lot of people like when things are revealed and very beautifully laid out to them. But at least like until the end, I don't want to see these creatures. I don't want to see them. I just want to be scared knowing there's something out there and just have all these speculations in my mind. It's just my opinion. Okay, so the last one is here, and this I feel personally is probably the most unpopular opinion of them all. I think I've said that before, but I generally think this is the most unpopular one. But I think the spin-off of American Horror Story is actually really cool. If you don't know, there's a spin-off of American Horror Story, which is called American Horror Stories. There is like an ES at the end. And instead of having one season as an anthology, it is like every episode is a story, which I think is really effective because you get like from start to finish in just one episode. And every episode have this sort of this small twist, almost like this goosebumps twist, which is really cool. And they're very modern. They deal with a lot of technology and just very modern situation, modern setting, modern characters. And I really like that. And if you have not watched it, I really honestly recommend you to go and at least give it a try. You just have to know that it doesn't take itself too seriously, and you shouldn't either, honestly. Just go and have a good time. So that was all of my unpopular opinions. Actually, there's a lot more. So if you want to see a part two, let me know in the comments. Also, put your unpopular opinion, and let's just remember, everyone have their own opinions. It is not to hurt anyone. It's not to drag any of the movies or books or shows that you love. It is just an opinion, just a discussion. So let's just keep this comment section really clean. But do let me know if you have any unpopular horror opinion, and if you want to see a part two of this, because I have a lot more. I should maybe like just pick up like specific genres or specific, I don't know. We'll think about it, but let me know if you want to see more. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe to this channel if you haven't, and please press the notification bell because it will notify you every time I upload a video. Second episode of my podcast series is going to be out this Saturday. I hope you definitely watch it. And I'm going to see you again soon. Bye.